Adriana?
Was done that I would reverse. He cut funding to settlement organizations only in places where he didn't have seats. So I would immediately do that. The good work that those settlement organizations do for not necessarily new Canadians, but new residents of Canada, and that's what we really have to be thinking about. It's not just the new Canadians. Just because you're not a voter doesn't mean you don't count. So, but I have a plan as well, and it's my own, and I found out that Scott Bryson, who is from New Brunswick, I was with him at an event, and he said, "Oh, I had that idea years ago." So simultaneous evolution of a good idea. But basically, when somebody decides they want to come to Canada, they submit an application, and it takes an awful long time for them to gain entry. And if they go into a high commission or an embassy abroad, we know immediately that that person is either an architect, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. We can start to educate them. We're not going to pay for that education. We're just going to make sure they know right there and then everything they need to have done so that they can get off a plane when they're finally accepted to come to Canada and do the minimal amount of upgrade before they can write a board exam for whether it's a health board, the medical boards, or the engineering board, and like that. And that is such a vital thing, because so many of our new Canadians are surprised when they get here and they say, "What do you mean I'm not a doctor? What do you mean I'm not an engineer?" And then we have the problem of jurisdictions. Ontario has its own set of boards, and Manitoba has its own set of boards. And just because you're an engineer, and this applies to everybody who's an engineer, you're not necessarily an engineer in one or the other place. And so that's something we also need to work on, is that all Canadians, if you're an engineer in Ontario, you can practice as an engineer or a doctor or whatever without any hiccup, without any extra work to be done. But we just really need to make sure that anybody that comes to this country is made well aware of what is waiting for them on the other side. When they get here, it's provincial jurisdiction. We can't force Ontario to say no, they don't have to write that board exam. But we can work with the people so that when they do write that board exam, they're prepared to pass it, and they're prepared to add to our economy immediately, and do the job that they were trained to do. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll be brief. I just believe it's important to, people have gone through due process to come to Canada, and we are able to embrace the qualities that they have and add them to the fabric of our country. And multiculturalism has been such a huge part of growth and change in a positive way for our country. So we absolutely need to recognize, I think the most important thing is to recognize the talents and skills of people who come over, instead of giving them what, we think that they could be worth here, and they could be, like he says, surgeons, electricians, people of a very high caliber, that we need to recognize that. We need to give opportunities, positive job creation, and new growth is what I would be looking for in alternative means, but definitely to embrace and recognize everybody as good individuals, bring something good to our country.
Certainly the people who are already here and are highly skilled, we need to try to figure out a way of integrating them into their skills. The problem is that is actually stepping all over provincial jurisdiction as well. And so we're going to have to work with the provinces to fix that, and that may take time. And we also have to question at that time, why does Canada need engineers and doctors and lawyers from India and Brazil and the Philippines? Why are we bringing these people here? Why can't they work in their countries? Don't their countries need them possibly more than we do? And that should be something that we should be questioning. What is it that we actually need in Canada, and bring those people here? The other thing that I wanted to say, well, the Green Party will focus on family class reunification. That's a serious problem here in Toronto-Danforth, where we're getting all kinds of people who cannot bring their families in, and their families are stopped. And it has been something that has been, there's been a lot of discrimination on it throughout many decades, and it's been exacerbated recently, where people who come from countries that are somewhat poor have a much harder time having their parents even come for a visit to see their grandchildren than people who come from countries that are wealthy, like from Europe, and that's wrong. Some of these people are coming in to help take care of their grandchildren. We should not be standing in the way. Family family reunification is a big thing that we want to focus on. We also want to focus on refugees. And I did want to just bring out, there's immigration lawyers, a number of them got together and issued a statement asking people not to vote for the Conservative government on the grounds because of their immigration policies, and it's just horrible, the list of things that goes on. The total time for processing sponsorship applications has gone up, backlog of skilled worker applications, but the worst part is that their claim that they will get tough on human smugglers has mainly ended up in a law that punishes refugees, and refugees have been now barred from applying from their own country. They've just canceled the only program allowing them to do that. So they're actually putting people into grave risk, and we really got to get rid of that.
So last question, we'll finish off with a broad question, I think a pretty tough question from Cole. What do you see as the Canadians today, and what would you do about it? Maybe we'll start with Adriana.
It is that whole swirling vortex of energy and resources and food and water, and all of it gets connected together. All of those things are very closely related, and they have huge impacts on each other, and all of them are threatened by the way we do things. And we have very little time to undo that, and it's a tremendous challenge because the society we've built over 100 years, and we don't have 100 years to undo it into something else that's as bright and as beautiful, but doesn't have such a big impact on the environment. Thanks.
That's a great statement overall, but I think biggest challenge right now, and I think one of the biggest problems with where Canadians are right now and what they feel that they can do and should do and need to do, there's a lot of confusion that's coming from government. I know, for example, Health Canada is telling people to eat better and make healthier food choices, but allowing really bad food to go on the shelves, and again, not supporting people who are in need the most, and sort of saying, well, you have to eat better, you know, your kids have to eat better, we have to lessen the load on healthcare, but that's just really too bad that you can't afford organic produce. Darn, you know, here's your freedoms. And how it's horrifying, and it's confusing as heck. You know, do you really mean it? Are you serious when you say that people need to live healthier, cleaner, more environmentally sensitive ways of living if they're not being given the tools to do it? So there's a lot of confusing messages out there. So I think one of the biggest problems facing them is what I know what I want to do and I know what I need to do. Can you not just tell me how to get there and be clear about that? So that they can make those positive choices. So I think, again, it comes down to ethical government, people who uphold good moral values and take everything from a compassionate standpoint and just clarify that and look at the issues head on and don't wait until the 7 generations past us have to deal with this crap. We have to start with everything right now. And we don't have time to wait for the next election, the next person to come in, and, you know, vehicle emissions to take 10 years before. No, I mean, the vehicle companies should be forced, every vehicle should have a hybrid or electric engine in it. What on earth are we waiting for? So, thank you.
That's a very tough question, but I would have to say it comes down to our aging population and how ill-prepared we have been for this thing that we knew was going to happen since 1965 when the baby boom generation ended. We've had 46 years to come up with a solution, to make sure we were prepared for what we were going to have to deal with, and we haven't done anything. And this is a problem we're still facing today, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. We need to change the paradigm. We need to change how our economy functions. We need to change how our aging population fits into the economy. And that's something there's ageism going on in the provincial government of Ontario right now. There's ageism going on in a lot of businesses around Ontario. And we should be going the other way. We should be encouraging people to stay in their job because we're going to have labor shortages. If we are pushing people out the door to retire, we're not going to be able to, first of all, afford to pay for their retirement, and burden is all going to be on the younger generation, which is 1/3 the size. So we need to really address that in province to province to province way. We have to come up with one solution for all of Canada, but we have to work with each province and have different mechanisms in place. And we need to come up with a solution to make our economy thrive with the aging population. And with it coming the burden on our healthcare system, with it coming, again, the labor shortages that are going to come, we have to address that. That to me is the single biggest challenge that we're going to be facing as a nation, because all of us are going to feel it. It's not just the seniors that are aging that are going to feel it. It's everybody from babies to grandparents. They are going to feel this. And we as a whole nation need to work on it together. Thanks.
Okay, well, so far so good. It's been great. I'll bring the questioning to a close. But as is customary with these sorts of things, people are encouraged to give a closing statement. But in this particular case, it's a very, very focused answer to a very specific question in 1 minute or less. I'm asking each of them what they would like you to remember about them as a candidate. You went first, so you're going last.
We knew you'd forget. This comes down to one very basic thing, and I'm very sincere about this, that I care. I really, really care. I live here. I love my country. I love my province. I love my city, and I love Toronto-Danforth. And I'm going to work every day to make it a better place, to make all of those things a better place. I'm going to work every day to make the world a better place. And that's something Canada has a hand in doing. We're going to regain our reputation around the world with a Liberal government, one that has been shattered by this Harper government. We are a laughing stock around the world now. We used to be the honest broker. We used to be the soft power that helped all the combatants get along. Now we're just disrespected. We lost our place on the Security Council because nobody trusts Canada any longer. And here at home, I'm going to make sure that I meet with each one of you on a regular basis so that I know everything that's going on in your life, you know everything that's going on in my life, and we're going to take it to Ottawa. I'm going to take what you say to me to Ottawa, and I'm going to bring Ottawa back to you. So that's what I'm going to bring, and that's what I hope people remember, that I care. Thanks.
This is my community. This is where I've raised my kids. This is where they're still growing up. It is very, very profoundly important to me that this community continue to thrive, that it continue to be a place where children can grow up safely and where there's clean air, safe water, where their health is secured. What I want to take to Parliament is a spirit of cooperation and flexibility that's sorely lacking there in a very deeply divided partisan environment. We have so many grave challenges to face, and I know that our party has the best platform, but I also know that if we become insistent on doing it our way or no way, then nothing gets accomplished. We need some flexibility or no progress is going to be made. So that means that I go in, I sometimes make regrettable compromises, I don't lose sight of what I really want, but I communicate that to you honestly, I maintain a dialogue, and I fight for all of you and the community we want. Thank you.
Well, I trust that after an hour and 15 minutes of everybody listening to everybody here, that memorable part has already been created in you. There's already something about all of us that has become memorable, as pieces of you have all become memorable to me just as I've looked at you. And I would know more if I met you. And that is the direct line I'm trying to draw in this election, any election that you do, that you take the time to learn and know the person enough to not just find what's memorable, but to find what aspect of that individual is something that you feel as this is a huge riding. A lot of the ridings are big, so you have to really trust who you are electing to do the best for you and your family, the environment, and everything that comes together. together with it. So whatever impression I personally made, hope at least it's a positive one. At the end of the day, whoever you choose to vote for, just vote with your heart, your head, and you know, challenge yourself to trust a little bit more, and hopefully we can have a government that's made up of many, many different individuals and less of parties in general. So thank you so much for coming out and for your time tonight.
Before I give this to you, I just want to, on behalf of everybody here and the three of us, if you don't mind, I'd like to thank John for putting this together. We wouldn't have had this without him. So thank you.
And thanks for coming. And thank you all for coming too. I hope you found this interesting, and please get out and vote.